The Aston Martin Vantage is one of the British marque's most famous cars, a name carrying almost 50 years of history, honouring some of the most high-performance pieces of machinery to ever grace the road. But the 2021 F1 car, since it finds itself mired in the lower midfield, having failed to get the new rule changes quite right, might as well be called the Aston Martin Disadvantage. No? Okay. Following a muted testing performance and struggles in the opening round at Bahrain, Aston Martin estimated that it had lost a second relative to the other cars on the grid, owing to its low rake specification. And because Aston Martin has now lost out, the team is lobbying the FIA to grant it the chance to tweak the 2021 aero rules to make wider scale changes to the car. But why does it want changes? Let's get into it. Aston Martin believes that the 2021 rules changes featuring the cuts to the floor, diffuser and brake duct winglet size have disadvantaged the low rake cars. And for a full explanation of that, we've got a video on the subject, check out the link in the corner or in the description. But the bottom line is that the teams can't make particularly big changes, and any change to the rake concept would require an entirely new suspension package, which is now homologated and unable to be changed due to the 2021 token system. Aston Martin spent its tokens on developing its chassis to introduce a new sidepod inlet design, and so had to forego making suspension changes. Over the Grand Prix weekend at Imola, Aston Martin team principal Otmar Szafnauer expressed his displeasure at how the rules were introduced. The FIA made the floor changes on safety grounds, owing to the escalating downforce produced by modern F1 cars, which would have left the Pirelli tyres having to cope with loads they were not designed to carry. But Pirelli changed the tyre construction anyway to make them more robust, which begs the question of whether the floor cuts were needed in the first place. Aston Martin have also suggested that F1's role as the commercial rights holder extended beyond its remit, and had influence in changing the rules to peg back runaway leader Mercedes. Szafnauer explained that the changes to the rules should be the responsibility of the FIA and the FIA alone, and wanted to open talks with the governing body to make the changes more equitable for the low-rake teams. If a compromise can't be found, then Szafnauer suggested that the team might consider legal action if it felt that the FIA had fallen to outside influence, which I guess is an outside team trying to influence the FIA's decision, but that's by the by. But does Aston Martin have grounds for a legal argument? Red Bull team principal Christian Horner explained that the 2021 rules were voted for unanimously, so Aston Martin, or Racing Point as they were previously known, had given the rules the thumbs up. He added that Mercedes still had excellent pace, even if Red Bull had managed to get closer, and that Red Bull had also been on the receiving end of rules changes to peg them back in the past. It's a part of Formula 1, Horner added, and suggested that Aston Martin was being naive to think that it could influence a mid-season rules change, especially given the nature of the restricted 2021 development was to ease a financial burden. Regardless, the FIA's International Sporting Code doesn't offer competitors the chance to protest against the regulations themselves. Teams can protest against their rivals if they feel they've not adhered to the regulations, but given those regulations are set, it doesn't appear that Aston Martin can do so. Protests can be filed against what the FIA defines as a handicap, but this equates to the use of balance of performance or equivalence of technology used in sports car racing, and not a regulation set that may end up equalising the field. And given the FIA drafted the 2021 regulation set itself, Aston Martin has to comply with the bounds that it has set out. Given that the move to cut floors was done on safety grounds to stop the escalating speeds of F1 cars, this is covered by the International Sporting Code, Article 1.23. The Sporting Code will never be enforced to prevent or impede a competition or the participation of a competitor. But one fly in the ointment is that the FIA introduced the 2021 technical changes, which was then voted for by all the teams, before Pirelli eventually elected to bolster the construction of the tyres. Could this not have been done the other way around? Although Aston's argument hinges on F1's apparent influence in the rules, perhaps there's a case to be made with regards to the late switch in tyre construction. The 2021 technical regulations say the following: tyre specifications will be determined by the tyre supplier in agreement with the FIA no later than the 1st November of the previous season for the construction and the 1st of December for the range of compounds to be used. Once determined this way, the specification of the tyre will not be changed without the agreement of at least 70% of the competing teams, but the FIA may decide to change the specification during the season for safety reasons without notice or delay. But it could be equally argued that perhaps the cuts to the floors and diffusers weren't enough to preserve the previous specification of tyre, and the stronger construction was absolutely necessary to offset that. Looking at the lap times in Imola, the pole time set by Lewis Hamilton was less than a second away from Valtteri Bottas' pole time from last year. With further development and understanding, that gap can continue to decrease. So ultimately, the cars aren't a whole lot slower than last year, and removing the downforce to peg the cars back a bit seems to have had the effect desired. So perhaps Aston Martin is trying to save face a little bit. Mercedes has managed to deal with the 2021 rules just fine, so perhaps the green team would be best off chipping away at the damage. And after all, 2022 is a complete reset anyway, and those regulations are by definition a bid to equalise the field. Let's hope Aston doesn't have a problem with that.